What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junkie. SBJ! Kick the beat. Black men are literally going their own way in 2024. It seems that, unfortunately, African American men and African American women, we have two different needs and two different desires that are not lining up, which is causing friction between us in the black community. And of course, many black women are going to remain voting Democratic, especially for Kamala Harris, while many black men will choose to do something different. And Barack Obama addressed this last week in Pennsylvania, which is a swing state, when he came out and he said this.
And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that.
But the reality is that this is not the truth. Black men have been leaving the Democratic Party for a long time.
What they understand least about us is that we are human beings too, and we got rights too.
I don't think they take us serious. They take us for granted.
The fact that we're just Americans, first of all.
A lot of times they think that we are just going to follow maybe what our parents followed or what our grandparents followed, and they think that we're not thinkers, smart enough to think for ourselves and really look at this for what it is.
They don't come to the hood and see what's going on in the hood, so they'll never know what's going on in the hood.
They don't have black voters if they don't have any broke black voters.
They can't buy us. The black vote has long stood with the Democratic Party for long, and I feel like they have taken that for granted, and they haven't done much with it. And black men are entrepreneurial, black men are responsible, black men want to take care of their family, black men are competent, black men are able, and we can't be bought with socialist agendas. We are smart and we're able.
As you can see, black men don't necessarily have a problem with Kamala Harris, although they do. Black men have a problem with the Democratic Party, and you see this support dwindling down each election cycle ever since Obama came into office. Now, the issue is why? And this is the problem and the opportunity that the Democratic Party misses for not addressing black men and their needs and wants and desires. But this is interesting. Kamala Harris all of a sudden has a plan for black men. Recently, she sat down with the Shade Room, and the name of the video was called An Opportunity Economy for Black Men.
One more thing I want to ask you before you go, and I think it's the fun part. I want to ask you about your plan for black men.
Yes.
It's something huge
Yes.
that you have just released this
Yes.
week. We're talking about 1 million loans that are fully forgivable up to $20,000
Right.
to black entrepreneurs, men and women,
Yes.
correct? Expanding access to bank accounts, expanding the child tax credit. Many things that you're
Housing.
doing.
Don't forget my housing.
Lowering rent, making it affordable to buy a house for
Yes.
first-time home buyers.
Correct.
Talk to me about this
Yes.
plan, just in summary, and how this will impact not only black men, but all black people.
Sure.
So after listening to that, he's asking her, what is she gonna do? And then she replies with this.
So look, I grew up in the middle class. My mother worked hard. She saved up. And by the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. I will never forget where I came from. Okay, by the way, my opponent, Donald Trump, was handed $400 million basically on a silver platter and filed for bankruptcy 6 times. So just keep that in mind about who's coming from where. I know the ambitions, the aspirations, the incredible work ethic that exists in our community. I know the dreams that exist, but not everyone has started out on the same base in terms of being able to realize their goals and their dreams. So my plan is to build what I call an opportunity economy, which means giving people an opportunity to actually achieve those ambitions, those goals, and those dreams.
Now, if you were listening to that, you would notice something. She mentioned, oh, here's what I'm going to do for both men and women. Again, you're not addressing black men. You're addressing USA voters in general and trying to package it as if it is for black men, and it's not. And you think that black men are stupid, which is interesting because you still are showing that you don't care about the issues of black men that would help them significantly with their problems. But all Kamala Harris would need to do is to go to the Brookings Institute and find an article called "The Challenges Facing Black Men and the Case for Action." This was written by Richard V. Reeves and Sarah Nzau and Ember Smith, and it was published November 19, 2020. We can see the 5 problems hurting black men that Kamala Harris could easily address. If we could look at this article and scroll through it, we could see 5 of the pillars that could be addressed. Education is 1. Young black men are poorly served by schools. You'll see that graph there. Upward mobility. Black men have an issue with that. Earnings. Black men have an issue with that. Labor force participation and unemployment during the COVID-19 pandemic when it was there. Of course, that probably isn't the case anymore, but at least the top 4 are still facing black men in this day and time. But Kamala Harris did not package it that way. Now, did she? However, let me give you an example of what is packaged correctly for black women. Let's go to Goldman Sachs' announcement of the $10 billion exclusively given to black women.
So when we announced this initiative back in March to invest $10 billion alongside $100 billion of philanthropy to narrow opportunity gaps for at least 1 million black women over the next decade, a key part of the initiative was really listening. We knew importantly from the start that if we wanted to have a real impact on black women and their families and their communities, that we had to put their voices at the center. And so since the last time we connected on this about 9 months ago, we've engaged with over 20,000 women in one-on-one conversations, roundtables, to really large public listening sessions. And so they have been the real source of many of the investment ideas, many of the grants that we're providing to organizations led by black women. And so really the process has just been listening.
Now, guys, if you listen to what the lady was saying, these are specifics for black women only. Goldman Sachs is going to give them $10 billion. And the goal is, in particular, to help black women in the black community achieve X, Y, and Z when it comes to small businesses, to try to get them to become more independent. These are things that Goldman Sachs are trying to do to help black women by themselves. This is not for black men, all right? Now, of course, I know Goldman Sachs is in the private sector. They deal with finances, but the idea is they're intentional with what they want to deliver to black women. Kamala Harris wants the black vote for black men, package it as if it is for black men, but it isn't, and she includes black women inside of what she wants to do for black men, even though she's not addressing the issues that black men have, nor has she sat down to ask black men, who, by the way, are not voting for her or the Democratic Party as they have in the past. They're not addressing that at all, nor do they care. And this is the issue. I believe what black men are looking for is something packaged just for us in the black community to address these problems that we have in the United States when it comes to these 4 items. Education. How can we increase black men's education? That would coincide also with upward mobility. All right. We also then would have a problem with earnings if we were to achieve that. And then the labor force participation, which could be solved if we had more black male owners who could hire more black men. These are the things that Kamala Harris could address and refuses to address it, but Goldman Sachs can address it, quite frankly, for black women. And then here's the kicker. There's evidence that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden address certain things for immigrants. Kamala Harris can do and address certain things for certain people when she feels like it. She went to Ghana and checked the Ghanaian president about the gays. But when it comes to black men, you want to, include them with the black community and black women in the American population, which is not catering anything to anyone, which is why black men are tired of being disrespected because the needs are not being met, but you expect that you are going to get a vote. If you are a person that starts a business and you don't invest into that business, you don't keep it up, you're not buying equipment, you're not training, you're not developing, and you just leave that business just by itself, without any work, and you expect to get profits from such a business, don't you think that you're silly? This is exactly what Kamala Harris is trying to do with black men. You expect all of these things from black men, and if they don't want to vote for you, then there's going to be some level of talking down to our disrespect, but simply you're not putting forth any effort, and then you're losing the opportunity, which Republicans at one point will figure out how to capitalize on it. And then if black men go to the Republican Party, there is a good chance that you might not see another Democratic president for a long time. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Shooter Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I appreciate you for all you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.